Okay, so this next unit is more triangles, but day one, we're going to start with ratios and proportions. This is really not new. You've heard of ratios and proportions before. We've already solved proportions in this class. They're just going to be a little bit different or a little bit harder or have a little geometry in them. First word that I want to talk about is what is a ratio. So you see this right here. A ratio compares two quantities using division. General form, there's three different ways. Sometimes you're going to see a colon. Sometimes you're going to just write out the word two, and then sometimes you're going to find a division. So if we look at the first example, there are 8 boys and 12 girls in a class. The ratio of boys to girls then, so that means I have to put boys first, then girls. There are 8 boys, 12 girls. That's the ratio. It's not simplified though. What can I divide both of those by? 4. So that gives me 2 to 3. So that is our simplified ratio. In words, can you please write this? What that means is, for every 2 boys in the class, there are 3 girls. So for every pair of boys, every 2 boys, you're going to get 3 girls. I would like you to do the next 2. So take 1 minute and solve those next 2, please. We're going to go over these real quick, though. Write the ratio of 15 apples to 20 oranges in simplest form. Eric, what did you get? For the apples to oranges.
For simplify?
Sure.
I got 3 to 4.
Great. So 15 to 20, and then what did you divide by? 5. So we get 3 to 4. So for every 3 apples, there are 4 oranges. Thank you. Next one. Talking about vowels. Parker, what are the vowels? Just in general, which letters are vowels?
A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y.
Okay, A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y. What are the other letters called that are not vowels? Anyone?
Consonants.
Consonants. Thank you. Nora, did you count up how many vowels there were?
6.
I'm sorry. I should ask a better question. In mathematics, how many vowels are there? So like in this word, how many vowels do we see? 4, right? We have A, E, A, I. So 4 vowels. Oliver, how many other letters are there? How many non-vowels? 7. Great, thank you. Yeah.
It's asking for total letters in the word.
Oh, man. Yeah, thank you. Okay, ratio of vowels to total letters. Thank you for correcting me. So it should not be a 7 here. It should be 11, because that's how many total letters there are in the word. So that shows us the importance of reading more carefully. Thank you, Eve, for correcting me. Those 2 go okay? Okay, let's move on. Next thing to talk about, a proportion. We've already seen these. A proportion is an equation that sets 2 ratios equal. So here is an example of a proportion. You have a ratio on the left side. We have a ratio on the right side. And how do we solve something like that when 2 fractions are set equal? Yeah. Normally you guys say cross multiply. Technically, that's not the correct term. The correct term is the cross product property. If you say cross multiply, that's fine. It's not a big deal. I just want you to know the correct term. So we're going to do 2 examples, and then you are going to do some examples. First one, we cross multiply. So we get 10 times 13 is equal to 2 times x. So So remember, after you cross multiply it, you end up with an equation with an equal sign. You don't have your fractions anymore. So we have 130 is equal to 2x. If we divide by 2, our x is 65. Other one. We're going to have 2 multiplied by x plus 4 is equal to 2 times 3. Be careful with your work here. A lot of times, students forget to distribute that 2 to both terms. So we got to make sure we distribute to both terms. So we have 2x add 8 is equal to 6. So if we subtract 8, we get 2x equals negative 2. And our x is equal to negative 1. Not too bad. Questions before you all try yours? Okay, can you go to the next page, please, and try both examples? This is what I got, x equals 5 and x equals 18. Do you agree? Okay, can we talk real quick about how to check your answer? Like, let's talk about how to check your answer on this second one. If we were to take this 18 and plug it in, we would get 18 over 3 is equal to 18 minus 6 over 2. 18 divided by 3 simplifies to just 6. On the right side, we would get 12 over 2, which is also 6. So that's how you would check your answer. I don't require that, but just so you know, that is one way to check your answer. Okay, I would like to finish this page, which is going to have 3 more problems with factoring, and then we will take a break. Sound good? Okay. We are just going to ignore these directions to the side. I'm going to go through each of these. We're just solving them like normal. How do we solve something like this first proportion, where we have a fraction on one side, but we don't on the other? Make it into a fraction. 4 is just 4 over 1. Then we can cross multiply. So we have 1 multiplied by x squared, add 5x, add 6. And then we have 4 multiplied by x plus 2. So on the left side, there's no difference. We just have x squared, add 5x, add 6. On the right side, though, we have to distribute that 4, which gives us a 4x add 8. At this point, before we go any further, how many answers are we going to have? 2. Okay, so as soon as we see this x squared, we know we're going to get 2 answers. It also means when we see an x squared that we're going to have to factor. So I'm going to move everything to the same side. So I'm going to move my 4x over. I'm going to move my 8 over. So we get x squared, add x, subtract 2 equals 0. So the way I got that, 5x subtract 4x gives me x. 6 subtract 8 gives me negative 2. So now when I go to factor, there's no GCF. So remember, always look for a GCF. We don't have one. We're going to have an x and an x. If we are looking to get a negative 2, what does that tell us about our 2 numbers? Very good. One is positive, one is negative. The only way to get 2 is 2 and 1. Is the positive number the 2 or the 1? The 2. The 2. Right, and again, just do a mental check. We get a positive 2x, a negative x, which does in fact give us positive 1x. So then, we're almost done. We have x plus 2 is equal to 0, or x subtract 1 is equal to 0. So we get x equals negative 2 and 1. Okay, we have a quick side note here. You remember on the factoring homework that we looked at the beginning of class, I said you need to make sure both of your answers work. That when it's a geometry problem, they need to make sense in the figure. You guys with me? There's no figure here, but there is something we have to be careful of. This fraction on the left, what operation is that? Division. Are we allowed to divide by any number at all that we want? What is the one number we can't divide by? 0. Okay, write this down, please. We cannot divide by 0. If we were to plug in either of our answers, would it cause us to divide by 0? This is what we're dividing by, x plus 2. If we plug either of these numbers in here, are we going to get a 0? Yeah, which one? The -2. So that -2 cannot be used because it would cause us to divide by 0. On your homework, that will not be the case. So on your homework, every answer is going to be fine. You don't need to pay attention to that, but that's just something for you to be aware of. Okay, give me like 6 more minutes to do the next 2. Oh, look, we have another proportion again, so we're going to cross multiply. We have 2 multiplied by x squared subtract 9. And then we have an x add 3 and an x subtract 3. In order to get set equal to 0, we're going to have to multiply everything out. So on this left side, I'm going to distribute. So I get a 2x squared subtract 18. On the right side, I'm going to multiply. So I would end up with an x squared, a negative 3x, a positive 3x, and a negative 9. What's really convenient that we notice is negative 3x and positive 3x are going to go away. Still need to get set equal to 0 though, so I subtract x squared and I add 9. So that gives me a 0 on the right side. On the left side, I have an x squared subtract 9. So I'm going to rewrite that, x squared subtract 9. How many answers is that going to give us? 2. It's sometimes helpful to rewrite this. In our previous problem, we had 3 terms. Here we only have 2. Which term are we missing? The x. So really, it's helpful to think of this as x squared add 0x subtract 9. Okay, to get an x squared, we need x times x. Bless you. And then you'll see we end up with a positive 3 and a negative 3. Those multiply to give us negative 9. Positive 3x, negative 3x, we would have 0x. So we get x plus 3 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. So our 2 answers then are negative 3 and positive 3. Again, in your homework, you're just going to stop there. But here, we do have one number that causes an issue. Which of those 2 answers is going to cause us an issue? Negative 3. Negative 3 causes an issue. Now, what about the positive 3? If I put positive 3 here, I get a 0 in the numerator. Is that okay? Can I do 0 divided by 2? Yeah, what is 0 divided by 2? It's just 0. Yeah, so that one's okay. Questions before our last one? And by last one, of course, I mean last one before the break. Oh, look, we're going to cross multiply again. How fun. So we have 2 multiplied by x squared, add 7x, add 10. And the other way, we have 5 multiplied by x plus 2. So we're going to distribute on both sides. On the left side, we get 2x squared, add 14x, add 20. On the right side, we get 5x, add 10. Okay, we know we're going to get our two answers. We know we need to be set equal to 0 so we can factor. Okay, so I have a 2x squared, add a 9x, add 10. That is what we are going to have to factor. This relates to that challenge problem that I wrote on the board earlier. We're going to go over this, but you are not going to have to factor this kind in your homework yet. Here's the way we're going to think through this. The only way to get a 2 is a 2 times 1, and x squared would be x times x. Knowing that we have a positive 10, what does that mean about our two signs? They have to be the same. 2 positive or 2 negative. Which one do you think makes more sense here, the 2 positive or the 2 negative? Positive, right? Because we have this positive 9. So we're going to have a positive and a positive. What numbers multiply to 10? 5 and 2. Okay, we're going to have to take a guess as to which one we think should go first. Which one do you guys want to put here, the 5 or the 2? 5? So let's try 5. Okay, so this way we get our 2x squared. That's good. This way we get our 10. That's good. This way we get a 4x. And here we get a 5x. So that is, in fact, the 9x that we wanted. So I'm just going to rewrite. So we get 2x add 5, x add 2 equals 0. So either 2x add 5 has to equal 0, or x plus 2 has to equal 0. If I solve for x in both of those, I get negative 5 over 2 and negative 2. Are either of those going to cause us an issue? No. Conveniently for us, we just have numbers that we're dividing by, so we're never going to get a 0. I want to remind you of one thing before we take our break. These two answers are the only numbers that will make this equation true, or the only numbers that make this proportion true. Do you remember what they mean, though, in terms of graphing? Close. I heard x and y intercepts. If we graph an x squared, what does that look like? What's the shape? A U, a parabola. These are going to be the two x-intercepts. So we found these two numbers right here. Okay, what you're probably thinking, or you should be thinking, is, man, I would love an application, like a word problem that uses geometry. And that's what I'm here to deliver, is a handful of word problems. So go to the next page. We are not going to do all of these. I am going to do the second one, though, so we're not going to do this first one. Okay, second one. The ratio of two complementary angles is 2 to 4. Find the smaller angle. So first, audience participation question. What does complementary angles mean?
Less than 90 degree angle.
Isn't it two angles that equal 180? Equal 90. Or 90.
Okay, whew, we got there eventually. Two angles that add to 90 degrees. Two angles that add to 90 degrees. Now, if we have a ratio of 2 to 4, does that mean that our angles are 2 degrees and 4 degrees? No, that wouldn't make sense, right? That doesn't add to 90. What that means is we had angles with a ratio, and we divided by some number, and it simplified to 2 to 4. So we had some ratio when we divided by some number, then we got to 2 to 4. Okay, well, we don't know what that number is that we divided by, so let's just call it x, which means our initial angles were 2x and 4x. And then we divided that x out, we got down to 2 to 4. So if we want a picture we have two angles that add to 90. One is 2x, one is 4x. Not the best picture, but hopefully you get the idea. So we know what to do. They add to 90. So we're going to have 2x add 4x equals 90. So we get 6x is equal to 90. So our x is equal to 15. Now, what do we need to actually find? The smaller angle. The smaller angle. Do you think that's the 2x or the 4x? 2x. So if we do 2 times 15, our smaller angle is 30 degrees. Okay. These two, we're not going to do the next one. You're going to do these two questions, though. But I'm going to get you started. The first one, the ratio of the sides of a triangle is 5 to 7 to 9, and the perimeter is 105. Find the length of the shortest side. If we have our triangle, and we know that the perimeter is 105, if the ratio of the sides is 5 to 7 to 9, does that mean that the sides are 5, 7, and 9 long? No. What should we label them as instead? 5x, 7x, and 9x. 5x, 7x, and 9x. So you're going to finish that one in a minute. This last question you don't have enough information for, so I'm going to tell you, you need to draw segment DF with point E being between D and F. That is the figure you need to answer that question. So you have 5 minutes right now to do this with the person next to you. First of all, here's my answer to the first one. This is the figure. Hey guys, can we look up here please? And then I'll give you another minute to finish. This is the figure. This is a segment. How do we know that there are not arrows at the end?
It's a segment.
How would this change if I did want arrows?
There would be arrows.
There would be arrows here. No arrows, so we shouldn't put arrows. This tells us the ends are D and F. And E, how do we know it's a point?
Because it says it.
No. One letter is a point. That's it. So we put our E somewhere in between. Take 1 minute and finish this second one, please. Here is what I got for the last one. Also 25. You guys agree?
Yes.
We should not be using 180. What is 180 for?
Triangle.
Triangle. Angles. What's 90 for? Angles. We don't have any angles. So instead, we have this 3 to 5. It does not mean the lengths are 3 and 5. It means that they were something. When we divide it out by a common number, we got 3 and 5. So then we're just adding them and setting them equal to the entire quantity. You guys had that on your first test. Okay, can we talk about the last one? Okay, let's go over this last one. The perimeter of a garden is 84 feet. The ratio of its length to its width is 5 to 2. You plan to cover the garden with 24-inch square paving stones. Find the length and width of the garden. I want you to take 1 minute and just draw yourself a picture and set up an equation to find the length and the width. Okay, so let's talk. Here we go. Here's my figure. How do I find perimeter of a rectangle? Add up all the sides. I now do see one person with the correct equation. How many sides are there of a rectangle? 4, not 2. So walking around, I saw a lot of you do 2x add 5x equals 84. That's wrong. We forgot about the other 2 sides. Okay, so we get 5x, add 2x, add 5x, add 2x equals 84. Because of course we're remembering that this is a 5x, and this is a 2x. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm just going to tell you end up with x equals 6. Okay, if we plug that back in, what do we get for the length? 30 what? Feet. And what do we get for the width? 12 feet. Okay, now how do we calculate area of a rectangle? Length times width. So we have our length of 30 and our width of 12. So our area is 360 square feet. Okay. Next, it says, how many paving stones will you need? Paving stones. And if we look back at the problem, here are our paving stones. They are 24 inches. What is the big issue that we notice, or the big difference? Okay, it's inches and feet. It's inches and feet. That's a really big deal. Inches, feet. Very big deal. So if we take a look at these pavers and we draw ourselves a little picture, so draw this with me, please. Our paver is 24 inches by 24 inches. So maybe we convert that to feet instead. 24 inches, how many feet is that? 2, right? So if I take 24 inches, and if you like to convert the way you do in chemistry, I'm getting rid of inches, I want feet. 1 foot is 12 inches. Does this look familiar from chem? Right, so then you get 12 over, nope, not 12, 24 over 12. 24 over 12. Okay, so this is really 2 feet, and this is 2 feet. So what is the area of that paver? 4. 4 square feet, right? Because we're multiplying feet by feet.
Do you not need to do all 4 sides? Or no, that because never mind.
Great question, though. Yes,
area.
because it's area. Okay, so then finally, we have our 360 square feet, and all of those pavers are 4 square feet. So we need 90 pavers, or 90 stones. We're going to do one last question, then we will be done. Change this question for me real quick. Paving stones are sold in boxes of 8. They're sold in boxes of 8. How would we figure out how many boxes we need? What operation? Division. So we need 90 pavers. They're sold in boxes of 8. Callie, what do you get? 11.25. Real life. How many boxes do we need? 12. 12 boxes. Whew.